The Untouchables and the Pax Britannica by Babasaheb Ambedkar. Part 60. 21. Every one of these recommendations made by the Hunter Commission was necessary in the interests of the depressed classes also. But when we come to analyze the recommendations made by the Commission in the interest of the backward classes, we do not find them directing that education of the backward classes be regarded a legitimate change on government funds, that scholarships and proceedings be reserved for them, that special inspecting staff be kept to look after their educational needs, or that public patronage be given to them by way of encouraging the growth of education amongst them. All we find the Commission saying is that 1. The principle that no boy be refused admission to a government college or school merely on the basis of his caste be now reaffirmed as a principle and be applied with due caution to every institution not reserved for special races, which is wholly maintained at the cost of public funds, whether provincial, municipal, or local. 2. That the establishment of special schools or classes for children of low castes be liberally encouraged in places where there are a sufficient number of such children to form separate schools or classes, and where the schools already maintained from public funds do not sufficiently provide for their education. As a matter of fact, the recommendations made by the Commission for the Mohammedans were far more necessary in the interests of the backward classes than in the interest of the Mohammedans. For even the Hunter Commission, presided as it was by a chairman of pronounced sympathies for the Mohammedans, had to admit that the inquiries made in 1871 to 73 went to prove that except in the matter of higher education, there had been a tendency to exaggerate the backwardness of the Mohammedans. Notwithstanding this, the only recommendations made by the Hunter Commission were the two mentioned above. Even these two recommendations made by the Commission regarding the depressed classes were not calculated to do much good. They were bound to be futile. The reaffirmation of the principle, even it be for the fifth time, was useless. For under the proviso inserted by the Commission, the enforcement was to be avoided in practice. Similarly, the opening of separate schools for the depressed classes was hardly possible, which again was bound to be sterile. Separate schools involving additional expense would hardly be acceptable to a government to which primary education was a task. Besides the proviso that such schools should be opened where backward classes were in large numbers was sufficient to negative the recommendations simply because in rural parts the backward classes can seldom be found to be living in one locality in large numbers. The end.